Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Premier Chelsea, your source for all things Premier League, but starting with the European champions Chelsea first. Coming into you on your speakers and headsets, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Jackie from Houston. I have Rahul here from Connecticut, Alex from Waterville, Maine, and today we're joined by an extra special guest. Here with us from London is Frank Khalid, the well-known Chelsea fan, businessman, media personality, and friend of N'Golo Kante. Thanks for joining us, Frank. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Really
No, it's an
appreciate that.
absolute pleasure to have you here. Frank, we just want to start with a couple of background questions for you. Rahul, why don't you
Sure.
take us through that?
Sure.
Hey Frank. So just first question, when did you begin to support Chelsea? You know you've been a fan for a pretty long time, but when was that moment where you fell in love with the Blues?
It was way back in 1976. I think I was probably about 8 years old then, and um, I just started supporting them basically because the rest of my classroom at the time, they were big Chelsea fans. I think their parents were Chelsea fans from the early 1970s era.
That's awesome, and it's uh, what a great time to be a Chelsea fan back then, and especially now. So we thank your classmates for bringing you on board. The next question we had was, do you have a favorite all-time player, past or present? Um,
I have one in the past and I have one in the present. The past one is Didier Drogba, obviously, because of what he did for Chelsea and the trophies he won for us and coming up with so many important goals. Um, and the present one is obviously N'Golo Kante. And that's obvious why is A, he's my friend, and B, well, what he was obviously the main man last few seasons, and he was the main man in the Champions League final, and that's why he's my favorite at the moment.
Yeah, two great choices, and I think for us here on the Premier Chelsea, those two players are our absolute favorite as well. So, moving on to the next question: what does Chelsea mean to you? What do you enjoy most about supporting the Blues? In the past 20 years, we've won a lot, but obviously you've been a fan for a much longer time. So, just wanted to get your perspective on that.
I mean, uh, to me, it means everything. I mean, when you are busy with your life and you need something, a hobby, something to focus on. Sporting Chelsea has been amazing. I mean, it's been roller coaster. It's not all been great. We have obviously won loads of trophies in recent years, but I can tell you in the early years, in the early '80s, we were a championship team, second division as it was then, struggling. We were very close to going down to the third division. It was a big struggle. Chelsea just about coped in those early years and kind of the late '90s we started to get things together, and it means everything to me because in a way it helps me in my normal life, helps me in the business. You're just being positive, just admiring what they're doing and everything. So yeah, it means everything to me being a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, we could totally relate with you. Uh, Jackie and myself been supporting Chelsea for the past 20, 25 years. Alex, I know is kind of young, but has come on board on the Chelsea train, and it's just great for us. It takes the attention away from the day to day and kind of look forward to something on the weekend. So absolutely relate with that. So we now wanted to move on, just do a quick season review with you, get
Sure.
some feedback from you. So I'll pass it on to Alex for the first question here.
Yeah, so this may be a tough one, maybe not. But the first thing we want to know is who is your player of the season for this past Chelsea season? Obviously, some pretty good high performers to think about here.
Oh, there's obviously a lot of players that have done particularly well. Um, from the Mason Mounts, N'Golo Kante of late, and so many. But for me, I I think the emergence of Antonio Rudiger for me has been the main thing. I think he's been really important in Champions League. I think the way he defended against Atletico Madrid, the way he defended against Real Madrid, completely, I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, it was contrast to last season, the season before, where he wasn't in great form. So for me, Antonio Rudiger takes it. Don't get me wrong, the Mason Mounts and the N'Golo Kantes, the Timo Werners, and all the rest of the players have done particularly well, especially the goalkeeper. But for me, Antonio Rudiger.
Yeah, I love that. That was my own response as well. I think he's really, really had a resurgence this season. Been crucial to everything we've done. So I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Jack, you want to go with the next question?
Yeah, and I'm just going to add that Tony Rudiger adds a little bit of steel to the back line that we missed
I
sometimes.
Very
think
true.
so.
It's really good to see. Frank, do you have a goal of the season that sticks out to you?
See, this is another tough one as well. I mean, I do like the Olivia Giroud goal, the bicycle kick. But for me, I did think about this. I think it's the first game of the season. Reece James 30-yard blast into the corner.
Yeah,
I just like that one. I like those kind of goals. But for me, it's the Reece James one against Brighton, first game of the season.
absolutely. Those get you off your seat sometimes.
Absolutely.
Rahul, you want to take the next one?
Yeah. So Frank, we've spoken about the goal of the season, but is there a moment from this past season that kind of sticks out to you and it's just memorable for maybe not a goal, but just a celebration or something on the pitch?
That final whistle in the Champions League final, I don't think you can beat that. Believe me, the stress we were going through, the amount of nail,
Oh,
it was very difficult. For me, that's the moment of the season because everything we worked for, everything the team had done all season was based on that one moment where that final whistle went. And the elation, the absolute happiness that we all got, including the players, I don't think you can beat that moment. It's tough to compare that to any moment at all.
you're spot on. I'm actually getting goosebumps while you're just talking about it. So that's definitely got to be a memorable moment from the season. Alex, you want to do the next one?
Yeah, so we made quite a few high-profile signings this past summer and this season in general. So I guess who would you say, if you could pick, would be your signing of the season? Obviously, a few decent options here.
I think for me, the goalkeeper was really important. I mean, I like Kepa. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me sorry. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I like Kepa, but there was always that question mark about Kepa and the goals that we kind of conceded. And the moment Edouard Mendy came along, it gave you that kind of confidence with the defense. And I think defenders got confident as well. I mean, it was amazing how suddenly we, from last season, leaking so many stupid goals, and this season to playing so well. And I think that's got to do with the goalkeeper. For me, the goalkeeper was very important.
Yeah,
So
and at the
Edouard
same,
Mendy's signing.
I agree. And at the same time, he did, in a way, seem to raise Kepa's level as well, because then
I agree.
under Tuchel, you saw Kepa keep several clean sheets. So
Sure.
I think he really did start developing. And maybe Jackie for the next one. I like that response, though.
Yeah. To stir away from a bit of the positive side, Frank, do you have a forgettable moment of the season?
I think the FA Cup final was a kick in the teeth. I'll be honest with you. I really thought we didn't play well that day, and yeah, I mean that for losing that cup final, especially the goal at the end that got disallowed. I thought that was a knife in the back, twisted a little bit. That
Yeah.
was just wanted us to turn up that day, win that cup and the Champions League,
Right.
and that was probably the forgettable moment for me.
Yeah, definitely a tough one to swallow. Rahul, you have the next one for us?
Yes. So we just wanted to get your perspective on who you think was the most improved player in the squad this season. Two different seasons in that first half, second half, but one player that stuck out to you throughout the whole season in terms of improvement.
I think you have to go with my player of the season, Antonio Rudiger. I mean, he has completely improved so much. Obviously, he wasn't playing much under Frank Lampard, but if you compare to the end of last season, I remember he was having quite a few bad games. Against West Ham away, I remember he was just nothing was going right for him, and that's complete contrast to him this season. And it's funny because Frank Lampard, the club wanted to sell him or loan him out, and he didn't want to go, and he's done well. I mean, for me, him and Christensen as well, by the way, as well. I've got to give him credit as well. But for me, Tony Rudiger again.
Yeah, okay, we definitely agree with you. For me, Christensen was one of the most improved, so I definitely agree with you. Alex, you want to do the final one?
Yeah. So, what would you say if you could pick one? Obviously, a few iconic ones, but what would you say is your game of the season for Chelsea this past year?
I'd say Champions League final because it meant so much. you can't just suddenly pick a game randomly and say, "Oh, we did well in this game and that game," because those games probably either we get 3 points or we just get another, a first leg lead. But for me, you can't beat the Champions League final. That is the most that will stick in my memory forever. With the other games, you'll probably forget after a couple of years.
Yeah, Frank, I want to stay on that topic and kind of jump into a different question here. You were around for the 2012 Champions League final, and of course, for the 2021 Champions League final. Any differences, any comparisons to you? Which one felt better? Which one,
I felt 2012 we kind of rode our luck a little bit. I thought we had a lot of luck involved in the actual final itself. Bayern Munich were dominating the game, missing chance after chance, and we're kind of clinging on and hanging on in that game. Where the 2021 game, I thought we tactically got everything right. We hardly, I can't remember Mendy making a save. It was kind of, Thomas Tuchel got it right down to a T. So even though I was nervous in both finals, it just felt 2021 was tactically done right, and it felt a bit more better and easier. We also didn't have to go through the extra time in the penalties of that. That was obviously stressful in the first game, but for me, the 2021 was definitely one that seemed a little more, a little bit more better organized, a little bit more tactically well done.
Absolutely. I think I agree with you on all those points. Alex, you've been posting some pictures about transfers. You want to ask Frank on some transfers?
Yeah, I'm not sure what your opinion is. We've got a lot of links in the media now, obviously. Perhaps a Mr. Erling Haaland is being heavily rumored. We've seen Hakimi break as news lately. Do you have any opinions on Chelsea's transfer targets? Do you have any dream signings for this upcoming summer window?
Striker wise, I mean, I would prefer Lukaku, but I can understand why not because of the age.
Mhm.
With Haaland, you're going to get a young striker he hasn't even reached his peak yet. It can only get better. He's strong and he's physical and he looks like he's really hungry for success. So I understand why we're going for him. And plus, his value will stay a lot longer than obviously someone like Lukaku. So yeah, I mean Lukaku would be I meant Haaland would be my ideal signing. I would also like to say that I would also Declan Rice is another one I would like Chelsea to sign. The reason being is I just feel that our midfield is okay at the moment, but I just think he'll add a bit more to our midfield. And I don't think we have to make many signings this season, and I don't think he has to tinker much with defence. Yeah, I think that's about it. 2-3 signings, but for me, Haaland will be the main one striker. One thing we have lacked is goals, and it's not because of lack of chances. It's just we haven't taken it for one reason or another. I also think Timo Werner will come good as well. I think he was just unfortunate the amount of bad luck he's had, goes
Yeah.
disallowed for VAR and offsides, missed chances. I think it will all come right for him next season. So having someone like Haaland next to him as well is going to help him as well.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
totally agree there. I've got Timo Werner in my Euro fantasy team, so I'm praying he gets some good form going there. Maybe that's one thing we could just ask you right now as well. Um, are you going to be following the Euros? Are you going to be rooting
Um,
for England, or maybe rooting for your friend N'Golo Kante for a Ballon d'Or push?
well, first thing first, because I live in England, I have to support England. And
Fair enough.
obviously, there's Chelsea players in that team. I will be rooting for N'Golo Kante, and any team that has Chelsea players in it, I'll be rooting for them. And but yeah, if England don't win it, I would want France to win it. A, because he's my friend. B, I would really like him to win the door this season, and if he wins that, that helps him. And I think that basically he's done a clean sweep, hasn't he, of trophies, doesn't he? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's England and then France and then any team that's got Chelsea players in it, which is most of them anyway. So you
Yeah,
can't really lose.
absolutely. But it's coming home. First of all, it's coming home.
Exactly.
All right, Rahul, any additional questions?
Yeah, I guess the final question for you, Frank, is in terms of Chelsea, let's say we bring in Holland, we bring in Rice. What's the goal for next season? What's success looking like? Premier League, it has to be.
it has to be the Premier League. Don't get me wrong; it's nice winning Champions League, it's nice winning the odd cup here and there, but the bread and butter is the Premier League. And it's been 4 years since we last won it, and I think it's time that we won it again. I think that's how you determine how great a team is based on Premier League wins.
Absolutely, and it shows your consistency for the entire season as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Frank, I have one more final question for you. I've
Sure.
had the pleasure of meeting Joe Cole and Michael Essien. Raul's had the pleasure of meeting them as well as Frank Lampard. You've had the pleasure of meeting probably every single Chelsea player, which is amazing to see. Are
I'm
there
very
any
lucky.
differences? Yeah, very lucky, absolutely. Any differences in their personalities in real life versus what we see on TV?
No, they're all fantastic. I think the one thing I think Chelsea do really well is they bring up their players, the academy, and they teach them how to deal with media and people. And I'll be honest with you, every single one of them, whenever I go to a training ground, they especially come over, they shake your hands, ask how you are. And generally, I get on with all of them, and they're all brilliant at that kind of thing. I mean, in years past, there was the odd player, not in recent times, but there was the odd player, for example, in the late 90s and 2000s. I was very lucky enough, again, where I had my season ticket. We used to go through a restaurant called Aussie's, and the players often in that time used to sit down and have their pre-match meal if you got there early enough. So I used to meet them, and there was the odd one or two that in that time that kind of were okay, but kind of not as pleasant as they are these days. So I can see a lot of changes happened. I suppose not just with Chelsea, but most clubs. I think they know how important it is, PR wise, with Twitter and social media and everything else, that the players have to be nice with people and fans and everything. So, yeah, a lot of them are good. But obviously, for me, N'Golo Kante is the one that stands out. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he's kind of came to my daughter's wedding, which was amazing. I asked him; he didn't even think about it. He turned up for that. I had a heart attack a few years ago, 3 years ago. I ended up having a bypass operation. And again, he turned up to meet me. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do anything at all. You could quite easily message someone. You can quite easily just say, look, I'm sorry to hear, but no, he physically made an effort and came down there. And I really appreciate it. I'm just very, very lucky. Again, it it is. I call it luck because end of the day that you meet these people and you become friends with them, and generally they're really good. I mean, again, Cesar Aspie, captain,
Yeah.
amazing guy. I, I didn't know him that well, but I came to training again a few times. He came over, shook my hands, and said, "How you doing?" This was just before the Europa League final, 2019. He said, "Are you going?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going. I'll be supporting you." He said, "Make sure you support us." I said, "No problem." The next thing I know is he follows me on Instagram, messages me, he said, "Give me your address." And he sends me the winning Europa League shirt that he wore.
Oh my.
You can't ask for more. I mean, that's what he's like. And last few weeks I've been seeing he's been messaging fans, he's been sending shirts. That's him, genuine person.
Yeah, that's something I remember I was saying on the podcast before. There's nobody who deserves to lift the Champions League trophy more than Cesar Azpilicueta, who's brought us through all
Absolutely.
these years.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
wow. And with N'Golo Kante, I think it's quite fitting that recently that story broke about him being described as the nicest person, and he said, "Oh, there's no need for you to call me the nicest person. There are plenty of other nice footballers."
But as I said, my experience, he's been nothing but nice. And again, the nicest guys. And I messaged him after he won the Champions League. Again, the reply he gave was very modest reply, and thanked me and obviously every Chelsea fan out there for supporting him. But he is that type of guy, and I was so pleased for him. And I mean, wish him the best and hope he carries it on. He deserves everything he gets in life.
I'm sure he
Yeah.
will.
Absolutely. It's so great to hear your passion and your relationship with these players, Frank. But thank you very much for joining us
My pleasure.
today.
Thank you.
And thank you for the listeners for listening. We will be back to cover the Euros from next week. So, Frank, you're welcome back to join us at any
I
point.
will do. Thank you so much.
And if you are on Instagram, Twitter. Please follow Frank. It's at Frank Khalid UK. And it's for us, it's at the Premier Chelsea, available Spotify, Apple, Google, and Instagram. And Alex is at Pulisic FC 22. But we will be back next week. But until then, up the Chelsea, and remember, it's coming home.